happy Monday. I'm thrilled that you're here and joining me. If you don't know who I am, Rita Hickman, body-mind expert, shiatsu massage therapist, and I help women who are coping with narcissism in their life, toxic and otherwise. I do coaching, I do group work. I've been doing this stuff for about 12 years, and it started when I went into helping women who had sexual abuse in their background, in their childhood. And this is kind of where the whole ball started rolling. And so today we're going to be talking about the sneaky ways that stress really starts to show up in your life, especially if it's chronic stress like having a narcissist in your life. It starts to show up in very sneaky ways, and then it also starts to affect you in the future. I just had a woman that I love working with, and she sent me an email wondering, telling me some things that had been happening, and then wondering if she was under stress that she was aware of. And my answer to this, is probably yes, absolutely. So one of the things I learned about the trauma when I was a kid, and the stress, the high level of stress that I was under for decades, was that when you're in the middle of it, you can't see everything that's going on. One of our survival mechanisms is to start to numb ourselves or shut down. And whether you use, pharmaceuticals, legal or illegal, to do that, whether you use distraction to do that, or food, either way, we do use it because it does keep us a little bit numb, because the stress that we're feeling is so overwhelming. It's only when you start to get, a lot of women who struggle with chemical imbalances, let's say bipolar or borderline personality or things like that, early in their life they tend to be put on drugs. And then when they get to a certain age, they're like, I don't want to live like this anymore because I can't feel anything. And so then they get weaned off of the drugs and they realize they can feel everything, and they have to develop brand new coping skills on how to handle the high levels of stress. Now our body does that naturally too. It naturally starts to shut down. Our focus starts to get narrower. We become more in our body, and things start to happen. We don't see things coming. We end up hurting ourselves, or in accidents, running into door frames, slipping, injuries. It starts to happen because we're not present. And that's one of the sneakiest side effects to being under a high level of stress, is that we're expending so much energy trying to control how you feel, trying to control all the discomfort and the anger and the frustration and the hurt and the wounds, trying to keep that inner experience so that you can at least look like you're functioning, at least act like you're functioning, and that all of this stuff is going on. But in reality, you're living kind of a double life, this whole inner world of struggle, while being there and being present to everybody else. So when we do this, when we're under this chronic level of stress, it starts to turn into depression. And depression is very misunderstood by a lot of people. Depression people think of as sadness. And from my experience, depression is when we're so overloaded that we're kind of shut down, and we're working from a very reactionary place. Oh, the sun's starting to come out. Let's move us a little bit. Perfect. And we start to come from a very reactionary place instead of a present place. Now, when you're in the middle of it, you really don't see it. You really don't know this is what's going on. You only have symptoms, which can be that sore shoulder, or the headaches, or the stomach problems, or the knee problems, or the heart problems. Usually they come out actually in bigger systemic ways, like fibromyalgia and heart problems and rheumatoid arthritis and things like that. Those are all side effects of being under a high level of chronic stress. And so you may not even know that you're stressed because you're shut down. You're physically shut down, either, because you're taking something to help shut down, or your body just disassociated. But those signs and symptoms, those physical signs and symptoms, like everything always seems to go wrong lately, or you keep hurting yourself, or you keep tripping or falling, weird accidents, weird, things that are happening, you need to take another look at that. And you need to wonder if you're in a place of being sort of numb, sort of disassociated from all of the pressure and all of the internal conflict that's going on. The Crohn's disease, the AFib, all of those things, we may have, be predispositioned towards it, but it's that high level of stress that keeps our body from being able to heal itself. So chronic stress is actually really, really sneaky, because we've learned how to cope with it. But what happens is we start coping less and less and less. We get sick more often. I remember there were years when I was in high school where I was sick the entire year. I just couldn't get over the cold. I just couldn't get over the congestion. No matter what I did, my immune, that I thought that I was doing, my immune system just couldn't bounce back. And it's because everything was so controlled and so suppressed about how I was feeling that I just wasn't even aware that things were going on, and my whole system just couldn't fight anything off. And I was very, very reactionary that year, because I felt horrible all year. I just couldn't get better. When we start looking at mental illness and we start looking at physical illnesses, we really need to look at our environment and what's causing us to be in that place. What's going on around us that's triggering us to not be the highest version of ourselves. And if you've lived in chronic stress for a long time, then that just looks normal. And then you just wonder why it keeps getting worse and worse and worse, because that's just normal for us. Maybe you grew up with that. It's only when you start creating a healthy and happy life, when you start finding and developing, community around you, when you start doing things which keep your body healthy, when you get big periods and spaces of time where you can relax and your body can heal itself, when you start changing your beliefs about what you deserve, which is happiness and health. And the world needs you to be your highest version of yourself. So if you're wondering, if all these random weird things which are happening and you just happen to be unlucky, or you just happen to be clumsy, you might want to look twice. There were so many issues which I never realized had affected me until I got past them, until I got into a good place. And so, if you're in it now, it's very, very hard to even remember what it's like to feel good, what it's like to be healthy. And that's part of that sneaky symptoms too. If you can't even remember a happy time, if you've got nothing to look forward to, these are all signs that the stress in your life is too high, and you need to start making changes. You need to start bringing your power back, because you're being pulled apart from helping everybody else, navigate their problems, use you as the way that they help heal. And you'll be a natural at it, because you're probably naturally empathic and compassionate. And you're glad they turned to you, but you really only can take so much. So one of the biggest lessons I learned, and it took me a while to get done being angry about it, was that the stress that you are under, the things that you're dealing with now, will affect you for a very long time. Partially because when you're not in a good space, when you tolerate not feeling good, when you tolerate things going wrong, when you're just so strong and so capable of tolerating, all of this stuff that's coming down on you, when you finally get into a good space, you sort of look back and you're like, wow, that was really sort of a waste. You know, I wasted my life being in a place of pain, being in a place of depression and frustration and anger because I didn't know there was anything I could do about it. And this is how it's affected me. And when you get older, when, you know, I work with a lot of women in their 60s, 70s, and 80s, you know, they're looking at their life and being like, I have got to make the most of it. I have just spent the last few decades giving to everybody else, and now there's nothing left, and my well is dry, and I'm falling apart, and I don't have a lot of time left because you reach that point. So I want you to look hard at yourself today. I want you to look at, you know, how you're feeling, what's going on, you know, what weird things that you keep tripping or falling into. I used to run into door frames all of the time. It's because we aren't present. We can't feel our environment in a relaxed way because we spend so much energy trying to keep how we're feeling controlled and managed because it's so uncomfortable. The only way you're going to get out is through a multi-dimensional approach: physical, mental, emotional, and some bigger, either metaphysical or quantum physics or spiritual, you know, some bigger energy sort of level. You have to be working on all of those, and they work together to evolve you into another version of yourself. It's about you starting to reclaim your life back in whatever way you can, wherever you're at. You know, if you're still in the relationship, fine. Start reclaiming your life back. Start changing those beliefs. If you're done with the relationship and healing from it, you've got some work to do. But it's beautiful, pleasant, wonderful, pleasurable work. It's work that inspires you and nourishes you. That's what you need to be doing. The things which nourish you, not the things which continue to deplete you. And you will look back at your life and you will say, boy, I spent a lot of time not doing the things which would make me feel good, staying with things because I thought I had to, because I didn't deserve it, because I had no choice, because I was helpless and hopeless, you know, because this was the situation, because I had to pay for my sins, or because, you know, it's in my best interest, whatever it may be. You will look back on your life and you will say, boy, I spent a lot of time doing that. I really wish I hadn't spent so much time being there. And there can be a period of anger. I spent a lot of time being angry about the time that was wasted. You know, when I looked back and I said, wow, I spent an awful lot of time suffering needlessly. And it affects your relationships, how you interact with people. It affects how you live your life, the choices that you make. It affects the level of success that you have. You know, I read an interesting factoid the other day, and it was that it takes at least 20 years for someone to get out of poverty. If they were born in poverty, you know, or in a period of poverty, it takes 20 years to dig themselves out. You know, that's true about a lot of the stuff that's going on too. It's going to take you a while to dig yourself out, but here's the benefit. The benefit is every day it gets a little bit easier and a little bit easier and a little bit easier. And you'll have setbacks, but now you'll have better tools and better support to go, you know, to work with them. And you'll be able to look towards a positive future instead of feeling trapped and stuck where you are right now. Okay, so here's your homework assignment for today. I want you to look around at your life. I want you to see if you've been too clumsy, or accident prone, or things bad just keep happening, you know, or you're unlucky. I want you to start looking at those things and identifying them accurately, which could very well be that you are under a high level of internal stress, which causes you to not be as in the flow and intuitive and present and relaxed and comfortable as you need to be to really be that great version of yourself that we need you to be, okay? So look around at your life. Look for things, chronic pain, systemic issues, heart problems, accidents, all of it. And ask yourself, is this because I'm under so much stress that I'm shut down and that I don't see things coming? I don't even notice that they're there until it's too late? Is that it? I mean, I know I was super overreactionary. There's a difference. You may notice a difference. I was always like, what's their mood? What's going on? How is this working? Are they in a bad mood or are they in a good mood? I was always walking on eggshells. But the focus is so intense that you end up missing a lot of the other great stuff that's going on. You can't even see the beauty of the grass and the trees and the birds because you're so uncomfortable. Okay, and that's probably because you're under a high level of stress, which is bringing up all of your wounds, and you're desperately trying to just make it through and hold on. The faster you heal, the faster you move forward, the faster you can get on with your life, and you'll be able to say, I didn't waste one moment unnecessarily. Okay, so look for areas of your life, and if you find some, recognize, what? It's not because I'm clumsy and accident prone. It's because I need to do more things that make me feel good and truly nourish me, okay? That make my body and mind and heart kinder and stronger and more fulfilled, okay? That usually means that you're missing something, and it comes out in the external world. All right, I think that's it for today. If you're feeling stuck, I do one-on-one coaching. I can send you an application, let me know. Or I've got a group that I've been facilitating, a beautiful small group that I facilitate every Tuesday. I can send you a link to sign up for that. Or I've got the public narcissist group, Healthy Mindsets to Cope with Narcissists. If you don't already belong, look it up and join. And if you do, invite some other people. We've got lots of options that are available. And if you're really, really stuck, as in, it's physical violence and serious addiction and things like that, I can direct you to the psychologist that I use. She's just wonderful because we all need to have that support. So, if you're wondering why your life just isn't going well, it might be because you're under a high level of stress, and that we have to start working on that so that you can navigate the rocks in the river and really create the life that you want. Okay? So, I hope you have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you tomorrow morning. Bye!